Welcome to another episode of the MemcycoFM show. Today we're diving deep into something that honestly impacts pretty much everyone online: brand impersonation.
Yeah, it's a huge topic.
It really is. And it's not just, annoying spam anymore. We're talking about a massive, costly problem that seems to be getting harder and harder to manage.
Absolutely. Think about phishing scams that look exactly like your bank's website, or cloned apps, fake ads.
Right.
They're scaling up faster, they're spreading wider than ever before, and the financial hit, it's just staggering.
Well, we've got some really interesting sources today that help unpack all this, why it's become so rampant, why the sort of traditional defenses are struggling to keep up, and maybe most importantly, how a new automated approach is starting to change the game.
Right.
So our mission really is to dig into those key insights, find those aha moments that help you, our listeners, understand this threat landscape, and crucially, how we can actually defend against it.
Yeah, we'll definitely look at why the older tools aren't cutting it anymore.
Yeah.
And then get into the really innovative strategies that are being used now to stop impersonation before it causes real damage.
Okay, so let's unpack that first part. Just how big of a deal is brand impersonation right now? What makes it so tricky to get under control?
Well, what's really striking is just the scale and honestly the speed of these modern attacks.
Yeah.
Our sources point to global losses from phishing alone hitting something like $3.5 billion in 2024.
$3.5 billion. Wow.
Yeah. And that's not just the money people lose directly in scams. It's also all the costs companies face trying to fix things afterwards.
Yeah.
Remediation, customer support nightmares, brand damage.
The cleanup costs.
Exactly. And the attackers, they're moving incredibly fast. They operate across web domains, mobile app stores, social media ad networks. They're everywhere.
That makes sense. That speed must make them so hard to track, let alone stop.
It does. And I think you touched on something important earlier, the number of digital touchpoints companies have now.
Yeah, it feels like every brand has a main website, maybe multiple apps, tons of social profiles, ad campaigns.
Precisely. Most big companies manage dozens, sometimes hundreds, of these digital assets.
Yeah.
And every single one is a potential target.
A potential vulnerability.
Right. Threat actors exploit that complexity. They create these super convincing phishing sites, fake ads that look totally real, cloned apps, even lookalike domains that are maybe just one letter off. The goal is always the same: trick users, steal credentials, cause trouble.
Okay, so that explains the scale and complexity. But you mentioned something earlier that sounded, surprising about where these threats are hosted.
Ah, yes. This is where it gets really interesting. Get this. Our sources say 75% of phishing links are actually hosted on good, trusted websites.
Wait, hang on. 75% on sites we generally trust. How does that work? That seems counterintuitive.
It does, doesn't it? But it's a major shift in tactics. Attackers are essentially weaponizing the internet's own trust mechanisms against us. They compromise a legitimate site, maybe a blog or a small business site that doesn't have top-tier security, and then host their phishing page there.
So the link itself might look less suspicious because the domain is known.
Exactly. It makes users lower their guard.
Right.
And it creates this massive window of exposure. We're talking an average of up to 6 days before many legacy security tools even start blocking these pages from these zero-hour attacks.
6 days. That's a lifetime in cybersecurity terms. People could be clicking and giving away info for almost a week.
Pretty much. It really highlights why those older methods are struggling.
It really sounds like, trying to fight a wildfire with a garden hose. The tools just weren't built for this kind of rapid, widespread assault happening on trusted ground.
That's a very good analogy.
So this really begs the question: if the traditional tools are like that garden hose, what are the specific fatal flaws? What are the gaps that leave companies so exposed?
Right. Connecting back to that bigger picture, things like just scanning domains periodically or relying on manual takedowns, they're just too slow, too shallow. Our sources point to basically 4 core limitations.
Okay.
First, those detection delays we just talked about. Scans might run hours, maybe even days after a malicious site or ad pops up. By then, damage done.
Too late.
Too late for many victims. Second, manual takedowns. Even if you spot a threat, getting it removed relies on slow processes, contacting hosting providers, legal teams. It's an offline forensic job, not a real-time security action.
Right. It's bureaucratic almost.
It can be, yeah. Third, channel blind spots. A lot of older tools focus heavily on websites, on domains, but they might completely ignore attacks happening in app stores through paid ads or on newer social platforms where attackers are increasingly active.
So they're missing huge parts of the picture.
Huge parts. And finally, and this is critical, there's a lack of real-time user protection. Even if a threat is eventually found, what about the user who's currently on that fake site right now typing in their password? Legacy tools often don't protect them in that moment.
So the user is still vulnerable even after detection, until the takedown actually happens.
Precisely. The window for harm stays open.
Wow. Okay, that paints a pretty stark picture of the limitations. It's clear that just passively monitoring and cleaning up afterwards isn't enough anymore.
Yeah.
So what does an effective modern solution look like? What's the fundamental shift?
The shift is exactly that, from passive to active, from reactive to proactive. The era of just watching is over. What you need now is a system that detects and actively disrupts these impersonation threats.
Disrupts them.
Yeah, disrupts them across all the digital channels, in real time, and ideally, without needing a human to manually push buttons for every single action. That's what automated brand impersonation protection is all about.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, our sources mention Memcyco. That's pronounced Memcyco, right?
That's right, Memcyco.
Okay, Memcyco, as a key example of this new approach. So what specifically makes a solution like Memcyco so different? How does it actually plug those gaps we just talked about?
Right. Memcyco really exemplifies this transformation. If you compare it side by side with the old ways, the difference is, well, it's night and day.
How so?
Okay, so legacy tools do periodic domain scanning, maybe once a day, maybe less. Memcyco uses real-time detection, leveraging signals right from the browser level on the genuine site. It can spot suspicious activity much, much earlier.
Before an attack is even fully launched sometimes.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
It can detect reconnaissance activities. Then think about takedowns. Old way. Manual workflows, slow, painful. Memcyco, it automates takedown initiation. And it even does things like SEO poisoning disablement, actively stopping fake sites from showing up in search results.
Ah, cutting off their traffic source.
Exactly. And maybe the biggest shift. Old tools give you post-breach visibility. They tell you what happened after the fact. Memcyco provides in-session user protection and real-time visibility into who might be affected as it's happening.
So you can actually intervene while the user is potentially interacting with a threat.
Yes. And finally, it moves beyond just web-only monitoring. It offers true cross-channel protection, social media, mobile apps, ad networks, the whole digital ecosystem.
That really does sound like a complete strategic overhaul, not just watching, but actively getting involved, disrupting the attackers.
It is. It's about taking the fight to them, in a sense.
Okay, let's dive a bit deeper into the how then. How exactly does a system like Memcyco manage to disrupt these campaigns in real time? You mentioned a few things like SEO, poisoning defense, but what's the core mechanism?
It really operates on this continuous loop. Detect, then respond, then detect again. It combines looking for early warning signs with protecting users in the moment and then dismantling the attacker's setup. Our sources break it down into sort of 3 key pillars.
All right, what are they?
First pillar, preemptive threat recognition. This is all about catching attackers before they launch.
Okay, how?
It looks for suspicious activities. Things like someone using developer tools in their browser to inspect your real site. That can be a sign they're trying to clone it.
Hi.
It monitors for newly registered domains that look suspiciously similar to your brand's assets.
Like type-squatting domains.
Exactly. And it can even detect if a device trying to access your site has been linked to these dodgy behavior, like phishing, in the past. So spotting the bad actors early.
Okay, that's pillar 1, preemption. What's next?
Pillar 2 is in-session scam disruption. This is where it gets really cool for protecting actual users.
Right, protecting them in the moment.
Yeah. So if a user somehow lands on a known phishing site that's mimicking your brand, Memcyco can, for instance, inject decoy credentials.
Decoy credentials, like fake passwords.
Exactly. The attacker thinks they've scored a real login, but all they get is useless data. It totally misleads them, wastes their time, and it alerts the security team that someone tried to steal credentials from that specific user on that fake site.
Huh, that's clever, turning the tables.
It is. It also tracks user behavior patterns to spot anomalies that might indicate fraud linked to impersonation, adding another layer of real-time defense.
Okay, so preemptive detection, then in-session disruption with things like decoys. What's the third pillar?
The third pillar is infrastructure neutralization. This is about actively dismantling the attacker's operation.
Teaching down their setup.
Right. So we already mentioned the SEO poisoning defense to kill their search rankings and the automated takedown initiation to get the fake sites and content removed quickly. But it also includes deploying deception campaigns.
Deception campaigns, what does that entail?
It means polluting the attacker's infrastructure with false data, flooding their stolen credential list with more decoy info, feeding them bad intelligence. It makes their data useless, reduces the effectiveness of their whole operation, and can even help trace them.
Wow, so it's not just blocking or taking things down, it's actively interfering, misleading, making their lives difficult. That's really proactive.
Incredibly proactive. It moves way beyond just building walls.
Okay, this all sounds very powerful in theory, but what about in practice? What does this mean for a real business dealing with these attacks day in, day out? Do you have an example of this actually working?
Absolutely. Theory is one thing, results are another, right? Our sources highlighted a really compelling case study involving a major European retailer.
Okay.
This company was under constant siege, persistent impersonation attacks. They found over 430 impersonating websites targeting their brand over a short period.
430? That's insane.
It's a huge number. And this retailer had something like 40 million visitors to their real site every month. Think about the daily login volume. Every minute a fake site stayed up was a massive risk.
I can only imagine the pressure on their security team constantly chasing these things down.
Exactly. It was a huge drain, a constant firefight.
Yeah.
But then they implemented Memcyco.
And what happened?
The results were pretty immediate and dramatic. First off, they protected over 100,000 customers from potential account takeover.
Right.
That was largely thanks to those decoy credentials catching the login attempts on the fake sites.
100,000 customers protected. That's huge.
Huge. And all those 430 plus fake sites rapidly neutralized. But beyond that, the operational impact was significant.
Like what?
Their mean time to detect threats plummeted. It became almost instant instead of hours or days. The response. Fully automated, immediate, no more manual bottlenecks.
Okay.
And this is the big one for the teams involved. The workload for their security operations center, the SOC team and their fraud team dropped by 80%.
80% reduction in workload. That must have been a massive relief.
Absolutely massive. It freed them up to focus on more strategic things. And importantly for the business, customer service calls related to impersonation scams dropped by 70%. That improves customer trust, reduces support costs. It's a win-win.
That really is incredible. There was a quote, wasn't there, from their security lead?
Yeah, it really summed it up well. He said something like, "We're finally able to preempt brand impersonation threats, take proactive measures, while having the peace of mind that customer credentials are theft-proof, even if customers fall for scams."
Theft-proof. Even if customers fall for scams, that part really stands out. It implies protection even when user error happens.
Exactly. It acknowledges that people will make mistakes, they will click on things they shouldn't. This provides a safety net. It truly sounds like a game changer for them.
It absolutely does, turning that reactive nightmare into a proactive, controlled defense.
And that's really the core takeaway, I think. We've seen how this automated approach, using sophisticated tools like Memcyco, transforms these often invisible, hard-to-manage risks into something visible, something you can actually prevent.
Yeah.
It's a complete strategic shift we talked about, moving from just reacting after the fact to actively disrupting the threat from beginning to end.
So, thinking back on our whole discussion, what really stands out to you? Is it the sheer scale of the problem, the ingenuity of things like decoy credentials, or maybe just that tangible impact we saw in the case study?
You know, it's probably a combination of all three. The scale is terrifying. The tech is fascinatingly clever, but seeing the real-world difference it makes for a large organization and ultimately for their customers, that's powerful.
It really is. And it makes you think, if your current security tools are only telling you about a problem after the damage is done, after customer accounts are compromised or trust is broken, maybe it's time to explore what getting ahead of the curve actually looks like.
Well said. And if this conversation has sparked some curiosity, if you're wondering how these principles of automated proactive disruption could apply to your own situation, we definitely encourage you to explore it a bit further. See how solutions like Memcyco, again, that's Memcyco, actually provide that comprehensive, real-time protection we've been discussing.
Exactly. It's one thing to talk about it, but actually seeing how the technology operates, how it preempts threats, how it uses deception. Taking a moment to see a demo could be quite an eye-opening experience.
Definitely worth investigating if brand protection is a priority.
Couldn't agree more. A great place to leave it for today.